Darrell, if we can just reflect on what you've achieved so far. 7 wins out of 8, the other being a draw, 5 clean sheets in a row. Just tell me what the mood's like at the moment, and how much you want to keep that run going into this weekend.
Obviously, the mood's fantastic. I wouldn't say I, though. Do you get what I mean? And I know I lead that, but it's a we. It's always a we. We win together, we lose together. So as a group, as a football club, that togetherness is very important on good runs and bad runs. So, certainly we've done very well. The lads have done very well. The group of the squad's done very well. But, that's all gone. I keep saying it every week, Mike. It's gone now. You keep living on past glories. You never get more glories, So we enjoy the wins. You can see the manager that he's a lot more happy in his interviews when we're winning games. Heart on the sleeve, sort of passion. That's how it should be, And we have to then focus on to the next game because, like I said, can't play the other 8 games that we've had, can you? So we play the next game and the clock resets again, ready for another 95 minutes of football.
Looking forward to the summer. At what stage do you start talking to players about contracts, Darrell?
It'll be at the end of the season, Mike. I made myself crystal clear when I came into the building. That will be assessed after the final game of the season in the early part of that week. No earlier. So agents, if you're listening to this, don't bother ringing me because I ain't interested. That's when there'll be. That's when the decisions will be. Well, the decisions will be made leading towards that, and it's an ongoing process of that. But the players and will certainly be the ones that know first, and that'll be after the season's finished.
A lot of the squad's out of contracts, and I just wonder, are your decisions now a bit harder than they might have been 2 months ago? When
that's what I said to the boys when I come through, clean slate. Let's see what we've got. See, we move forward. Show me and prove to me that you can be top players in this division. And the run we've had, there's quite a few that have shown that. There's always difficult decisions to make for managers becoming at the end of the season. There's a lot of things that come into play at that as well. Knowing what the other market is out there, what other players are out there. There's a lot that comes into it. But when lads are in the building, they have the best possible chance of staying in the building, Mike, don't they?
If I'd ask you about Andy Crosby as well, how much difference is he making? And tell me about the work he's doing, and also his future as well.
Your lieutenants as a manager is very, very, very important. It'd been pretty easy for me to go and bring somebody to the football club that I know hundreds of people. I've worked with obviously assistants in the past. I was never going to be bringing across somebody that I knew for this role. I wanted to work with somebody different. Don't listen to what you hear elsewhere and all the other rumours and what I wanted to bring him across and him across. No, load of rubbish. I wanted to work with someone different. I wanted to work with somebody fresh, and I didn't want to have to coach a coach, if that makes sense, Mike. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the time, the coaches that I've worked with, I've actually coached up and got through the ladder to be where they are now. I didn't want to have to do that. I was always looking for somebody that was going to be more experienced. And with Andy coming in to help me, that was the ideal candidate after I interviewed a few candidates, to be honest with you. So it wasn't a rush job, and your lieutenants are very important as a manager of a football club.
You're hopeful Andy will be staying for next season?
Hey, we always live on hope, Mike, don't we?
Fair enough. I mentioned at the start of this interview.
Was that me swerving the question, Mike? Was that me? Did you feel like see how I battered that one out for a 6 there, Mike? Didn't I?
Well, that's all right, because Matt and George are still to come, so they can take that.
Like your headlines, Mike. Can't always be doing your job for you, mate. You have to dig deep, mate.
I mentioned at the start of this interview about the different records you're on. You could set a postal record for clean sheets and so on. Do you look at that as sort of pressure, or is that the sort of thing you embrace? Because expectations will be going.
Mike, I always said this pressure. I'm in a real privileged job managing this football club. I enjoy pressure. I program my mind to enjoy pressure, and when you can do that, and when I try and program that into my players' mindsets, you're on a winner, aren't you? Because if you put more pressure than anybody else can put on yourself, all the rest of it's noise. You guys, when I'm on a bad run, they'd probably be 5-6 deep on the questions in the interviews. You know what I mean? You've been pretty consistent, Mike. George has always been there, to be fair. Matt comes in when we've won a few. But you know, it's one of those, isn't it? You got to enjoy that pressure, and you thrive to enjoy that pressure, you know, because it's everywhere in football now, isn't it, with social media? And listen, I lose the last 3 games of the season, all of a sudden I'm a rubbish manager, Mike. That's why I don't get carried away. And it's like, why did it all go wrong in the last 3 games, Darrell? So that's why my glass is sort of, it's always half full in a positive manner, but I'm a realist at the same time.
Last one for me. Talk about glass half full. You've got a captain in midfield who's creating great headlines. He's close to double figures. Do you look at that as a great positive, or are you concerned that other clubs might come in for him?
Listen, we're Port Vale in League Two, Mike, aren't we? If players are doing well, they're always going to attract interest from other football clubs. I can't control that. And I try not to look for problems too early, Mike. You know, until someone picks up the phone and makes an offer for one of your players, I start worrying about that, Mike. You want to keep your best players at the football club, of course we do. Tom's an integral part of what I'm trying to build here. He's shown that within his performance and his leadership. So we'll see how things move forward, Mike.
That's great for me. Thank you.
Top man.
George's Day. Thanks for that. Darrell, obviously, first of all, I've just got to ask you this question. I mean, obviously, in the present circumstances, the unprecedented stage we have and all like that, as a manager, just give us an insight, because the problems are different. We all suffer them probably. How do you deal with the players, not only physical state, but mental state, and your own and all your staff? Is that difficult in the situation we are at this moment in time? Is that very difficult? Because there's problems for all of us, we know that. But how do you deal with it as a football manager?
Yeah, and I think it's individualised, George, if I'm honest with you. The mental side of things, players have families, players have personal lives, players have things that aren't going well in their lives, like any human being, to be honest with you. And that them goalposts always move. I'd like to think, and hopefully the players back that up, that you know, I do find out about the families. Do I find out how they're doing and how they're feeling on the personal level side? And it's key. There's a lot made of mental health at the minute, isn't there? And you know, we're here to support each other first and foremost. And football players are under severe pressure. The contracts aren't necessarily long in the lower leagues. You know, they have got bills to pay, and certainly it's difficult at times. Myself, I've always had a screw loose, George, to be honest with you. So listen, I'm like that, me. High, low, high, low, high, low, you know, and I find a way out to deal with a reset button at times. So, but it is tough times. It's tough for families out there that are losing loved ones. And, you know, we get, I just wish we're in a world where people are a little bit nice to each other, George. I think everyone's wanting to be very, very critical of every decisions that are made now. There's a lot of hatred in the world. There's a lot, I told you so. There's a lot of ego in the world now. And it's, you know, it's a shame, really. It's got a lot worse with this social media aspect.
But you've got to take that burden on board, not just for yourself and your family. Does that make the job, well, I use the word again, pressure, Darrell? Does that make you more pressure?
Yeah, you end up dealing, George, with a lot of mentality. You work a lot of mentality. If you can get the mentality of your players right, I think that's half the battle. Probably more than half the battle, George, if I'm honest with you. You know, you can have a game plan, you can have a setup. But if you get that right in the mentality of people, not only just on the field but in their lives, that helps a lot.
You always never look back, Darrell. You always look forward, and you're very keen on doing that. So as you already said, the last game is history. So we move on to the next game, and that's the way to be, isn't it? In the world we live in, and particularly in the football world, Darrell, in your position.
Certainly is, George. You're only as good as your last game, isn't there? There's no true statement in football, is there? Do you know what I mean? You're only as good as your last game. So, you know, we'll be judged on this game coming up against Bradford. I'll be judged as a manager after that game at Bradford, when you guys are firing the questions of what went right and what went wrong. You know, we're on a crest of a wave at the minute, but I know that wave can quickly sink. So the focus hasn't changed. The mentality hasn't changed. The work on the training ground hasn't changed. I'm not sitting here saying I'm doing anything different than I've done since I've come in the building. I have a weekly plan. I have a daily plan, and we'll have a game plan for Bradford tomorrow at 3.
How do you assess Bradford? I mean, because they're, you know, a big fish, really, I suppose many people will feel, in a small pool in Division 2, and that's not being disrespectful to other teams, because they have in that time been a big team, haven't they?
Yeah, I find a lot of the time there's quite a few clubs in League 2 that are, you know, potentially bigger than League 2, and I think a lot of clubs struggle, and we're one of those clubs that struggle because the weight of the shirt weighs them down. You know, when you're managing a football club that, no disrespect, probably should be higher up in the pyramid, everybody's on you on a bad run. And at Bradford, they've got a massive fan base. They used to be in the Premier League. Their fans don't expect League One. Their fans expect Championship / Premier League football. So to lose any game in League Two for Bradford's a disaster. So, and they've been in this division a few years now, but another big club that has to earn the right to get out of the league.
Are you tempted, Darrell, to, just tweak the team at the moment, or do you feel now that you've got that consistency, you want to finish on such a high that you're maybe not going to make the radical changes you might have done because you're already safe, and give other players an opportunity to prove to you their worth?
There's a lot of temptation always, George, in the Tinker Man. You know that, mate. So, but we'll have to wait and see tomorrow, won't we? So I'm always tempted. We'll see. I've been pleased with the commitment of the players. I made some changes on Tuesday night, didn't I? So I'm not ruling out changes tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon, should I say? So we'll see. It'd be a good opportunity to maybe look at one or two more. So we'll see how things pan out.
Finally, from me, Darrell, obviously the European Super League's been ready for much of the forward, despite the fact they got rid of a manager, the special one, Jose Mourinho. He's second on the card in more ways than one, but just briefly moving to it, the European Super League. But do you see we should follow maybe the German model in more ways than one, where fans should have much more involvement with running the clubs?
Certainly, and I can say Port Vale have pulled out the Super League, so I can officially state that now. We're not interested in going in it. We're going to stay where we are. With regards to the fan ownership, yes, football clubs should be, fans. Obviously, you've got owners at football clubs. Fans can't necessarily own football clubs, but the fans are the football club. And this is where I think, we're very fortunate that we've got Carol, who's fantastic, who has a lot of input with the supporters. The supporters get to here now, know a lot what's going on with the football club, and rightly so. And when you build them in the process, that's where you build the success. They can feel part of it. Our problem in our game now is there's a lot of foreign owners that have come in, and they do not understand, for me, the British culture of football, and they come miles away from the game. And a lot's been said about it, hasn't there? There's been a hell of a lot said about it. And hopefully this has been a big kick up the backside for those guys that think they can come in and change the game. And one of the pleasing aspects for me is the fans sticking together at all these big clubs and having none of this nonsense. I was really proud to see that, because the football is a game of promotions, relegations, and earning the right and dreams, George. And we need to keep it that way, mate.
Thanks for that, Darrell. Good luck tomorrow.
Cheers, George. Cheers, mate.